Sam went to Walmart, comma, she bought some milk.
Hey son, what are you working on?
Comma splices.
Comma splices? What is that?
Ha! I'm glad you asked. Hey kids, welcome back to Grammar Grove. In today's episode, we'll be learning about comma splices. Take a look at this sentence. Sam went to Walmart, she bought some milk. What's wrong with this sentence?
It's blue! What?
No, it's a comma. Now let's go to Definition Delilah to learn what a comma is.
Hey guys, it's me, Definition Delilah, and I'm going to tell you what a comma actually is. So a comma is a punctuation mark that indicates a pause between two parts of a sentence. And I know it might look a little weird, seem a little tricky, but you're going to get it. Back to my friend Aaron.
Thanks, Definition Delilah. Well, now that we know what a comma is, we can learn some of its functions. So, a comma can separate an independent clause and a dependent clause, but it cannot connect to independent clauses. In this sentence, there are two independent clauses. So, I will now show you a few examples of how you can fix this sentence. So now, I will show you 3 ways to fix a comma splice. The first way is to replace the comma with a period. Now, when you do this, don't forget to capitalize the first letter of the second sentence. So, now, the second way to fix a comma splice is to add a conjunction. This time, we're going to use and. Now it reads, Sam went to Walmart and she bought some milk. Now, the third way is to make the comma a semicolon. The semicolon has the same function as a period. It reads, Sam went to Walmart, she bought some milk. Take a look at this sentence. Michael likes to sing, usually Beyonce songs. What's wrong with these two sentences?
Where's the blue?
You mean, where's the comma?
Holla for the comma!
That's better. It reads, Michael likes to sing, usually Beyonce songs.
Yay!
It connects an independent clause and a dependent clause. Now, let's look at the 3 different ways to correct a comma splice. Take a look at this sentence. Summer doesn't last forever, comma, you have to make the best of it. At first glance, this sentence seems alright, but if you look closer, you can see that it's a comma connecting 2 independent clauses. So one way to fix this comma splice is to add a period where the comma is. Now it will read, summer doesn't last forever, period, you have to make the best of it. These 2 sentences work. The next way to fix the comma splice is to add a conjunction after the comma causing the comma splice. It would then read, summer doesn't last forever, comma, so you have to make the best of it. So is our conjunction. The last way to fix this sentence is to replace the comma with a semicolon. A semicolon acts the same way a period does. So now it reads, summer doesn't last forever, you have to make the best of it. Now that we know how to fix comma splices, it's time to learn how to identify them properly. So let's take a look at the first sentence. Your food is getting cold, you have to eat it now. Is this a comma splice? If you answered yes, you are correct. These are 2 independent clauses being separated by a comma. Now, let's look at the next sentence. I decided to stay quiet. There's a time and place for everything. Does this contain a comma splice? Once again, if you answered yes, you are correct. There are two independent clauses being separated by a comma. Now, let's look at something a little bit more tricky. I love to swim, especially on the weekends. Is there a comma splice here? This time, the answer is no. There is no comma splice. I love to swim is an independent clause. However, especially on the weekends is a dependent clause. Therefore, the comma works in this situation. So there's no comma splice. Take a look at this acronym, fanboys. It stands for the 7 coordinating conjunctions: for, and, nor, but, or, yet, and so. Coordinating conjunctions connect two independent clauses and creates a compound sentence. All other conjunctions are considered subordinating conjunctions. They connect an independent and dependent clause and create a complex sentence. Some examples are because, before, after, though, and if. Using a subordinating conjunction to fix a comma splice changes the second independent clause into a dependent clause. The sentence no longer contains a comma splice because the comma is now separating an independent and dependent clause. We will go over some more examples. Take a look at this sentence. Sticks and stones will break my bones. Words will never hurt me. This sentence contains a comma splice. Sticks and stones will break my bones is independent, and words will never hurt me is independent. Now, I want you to, on your own, to figure out how to remove this comma splice and create a compound sentence. Remember, use fanboys if you want to make a compound sentence. Now, what you get should look something like this. Sticks and stones will break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Now, you can use some other conjunctions in fanboys besides the one I used, but this one fits the best for this sentence. Now, let's look at a different example. The fire was out of control. I got burned. Now this time, I want you to fix the comma splice, but create a complex sentence, one with an independent clause and a dependent clause. Remember, using a fanboy conjunction will create a compound sentence, not a complex one. You have to use a subordinating conjunction. Now, it should look something like this. The fire was out of control before I got burned. Now, there are a lot of different subordinating conjunctions you could have used here, but I decided to use before. Now, as you can see, the second clause is now dependent because of before. Before I got burned cannot stand alone as a sentence. However, I got burned can. Since I added before, I can keep this comma here because it is connecting an independent clause and a dependent clause. Now take a look at this example. It's not you, it's me. This is a popular phrase. However, when a comma is used to separate these two independent clauses, it is a comma splice. Now, these two clauses may not look independent right now, but if you separate it's into it is, then it makes more sense. However, they are both independent clauses. It is not you, it is me. This is the same as it's not you, it's me. Now you can clearly see the subject and the verb, which makes it an independent clause. Now, you may be asking, why are comma splices wrong in the first place? Looking at the sentence, saying it's not you, it's me with a comma in between them, versus saying it's not you, period, it's me, have the same meaning, and we still understand what it's saying. They have the same meaning whether or not it contains a comma splice or not. So what is wrong with using them? Well, in some circumstances, there's no problem with using them. Skilled and famous writers sometimes intentionally manipulate and misuse grammar to create a desired effect on the reader. Grammatical errors, such as the comma splice, are often used to convey a sort of rushed feeling or one of jumbled thoughts. This is found more often in informal writing rather than formal writing. However, if the writer is not known for their skill, an intentional comma splice may be viewed as a mistake and can backfire on the reader. So, for our purposes, we ought to avoid comma splices and other grammatical errors altogether. Now, let's recap this episode. In this episode, we learned that commas connect a dependent clause and an independent clause. We also learned that two independent clauses separated by a comma is called a comma splice. A comma splice can be removed by replacing the comma with a different punctuation mark, like the period or semicolon, or by adding a conjunction. You can use either a coordinating conjunction or a subordinating conjunction. Remember, the acronym FANBOYS represents the coordinating conjunctions, and other conjunctions are subordinating. Also, while it may sometimes seem as though there is no reason to remove a comma splice, remember that it is still grammatically incorrect. In formal writing, any grammatical errors are looked down upon. However, even in informal writing, it is better to remove the comma splice than to leave it and have the reader criticize your writing. So for our purposes, remove the comma splice using one of our methods.